What's up, you guys? My name is Mehdi.
And I'm Ramsey.
And this is What They Won't Say. Trigger warning. This week's episode may not be suitable for all audiences. So if the topic of sexual violence is triggering, I encourage you to click away. What is going on?
What's up, brother?
What's going on?
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing well.
I know that's right.
Excited to be back.
Right.
No, we have to stop that. I know that's a tagline, but that has to be stopped, remember?
Oh, they keep... Oh, how many messages I've gotten. Stop saying, I know that's right. And every time I say, okay, I'm going to say it like once during the episode.
It's not something you can control.
I mean, at this point, I can't control it.
We're going to start creating merch with the tagline,
I know that's right. I don't think I can. Somebody's already said it and it wasn't me.
No one's going to buy it.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Mental health check.
Press the button.
Oh, yeah. That's...
It never gets old. Mental health check.
Mental health check.
This week.
Give it to me.
This week, physically, I'm a 10.
Mm.
Yeah, I started boxing.
Okay.
Shout out Weaver's Boxing Gym. This episode is brought to you by Weaver's Boxing Gym.
We're not sponsored by them.
We're not
sponsored by them.
But if you want to sponsor with us, please hit us up in the DMs. It was a great workout, honestly. If you haven't boxed, you should. It was amazing.
I have not. I'm terrified.
Oh no, it's. I was dripping sweat. It was amazing.
Imagine somebody knocks me in the face.
I'll knock you in the face. Emotionally, I'm a 10. Work's been good. Life's been good. Mentally, I have no complaints, man.
Nice.
Like all around, this week's been great.
Nice.
What about you?
I would say solid 9 all the way around. Healthy, happy.
All week.
Life's good. Show's good.
Show's great.
Family's great. Friends are good.
We're international. I was looking at the analytics. We're international.
I saw that.
It's crazy.
I saw that. Hopefully we grow even more. I mean, the show's been really hitting home for a lot of people.
Is it too soon to call us famous?
We're way too soon.
All right, we're not famous. Humble down.
Way too soon. Now, this week we are joined by 2 resilient, strong women who will join us via phone as they have asked to remain anonymous. Some of the voices will be altered for their privacy and for the show's integrity.
It's a serious show this week.
Very, very serious show. You know, I posted a reply on an Instagram story, and someone responded to, I just put out there, hey, what would you like to see on future episodes? And someone said, let's discuss someone touching you, sexual assault.
Yeah.
And I just responded, and I thought it would be difficult. I said, it'd be very hard for me to find someone to discuss this, but through DMs, people were responding and saying, I'm open to discussing it. So I spoke to these people, and they were all pretty open to it, except they wanted to remain anonymous.
Which is fully understandable. I think it's even amazing that they're willing to come forward and tell a story regardless.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the beauty of this, is that it's a platform for people from our community anywhere that have a story.
Right. Because they're not all from our community.
They aren't from our community.
Right.
So, which is great. Like, I love that people feel that, and I hope that it continues, and we can continue to grow on that and give people a platform to tell their story and what they want to discuss that could help one other person. Yeah,
for some of the biggest issues that we have existing, like you said, in our community, but in other communities where they're not acknowledged.
Absolutely.
Now, according to the CDC, every 73 seconds, an American is sexually assaulted. Every 9 minutes, that victim is a child.
That's nuts.
So crazy.
We've already been talking for how long? 6 minutes.
I know.
Think about it.
Within the next 3 minutes, it's crazy.
With nothing we can do.
It's heartbreaking.
So this is something we can do. Let's discuss it. Let's put it at the forefront.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, nearly 1 in 5 women have experienced completed or attempted rape during their lifetime. 1 in 3 female rape victims experience it for the first time between 11 and 17, like our guests.
Children.
1 in 8 female rape victims reported that it occurred before the age of 10. So wild.
It literally strains my soul hearing it, man.
It's ridiculous.
Like, they're kids.
How do you have the heart? How do you have the heart to look at a child and find it? It's even difficult to say.
When I tell you I'm already genuinely uncomfortable, and not with the idea of discussing, I think this is great. But whoever goes through that has to live with that forever. And there's no easy way to discuss or talk. There's no outlet. There's obviously things you can do and steps you can take, but that'll never be gone.
For life.
And you're doing that to someone else without their permission.
Yeah.
And they'll never be the same.
Absolutely.
You know
Absolutely. I mean? And the most staggering is that nearly 1 in 38 men have experienced completed or attempted rape during their lifetime. About 1 in 4 male rape victims experienced it for the first time between 11 and 17 years old. And about 1 in 4 male rape victims reported that it occurred before the age of 10.
Kids.
And these statistics are shocking as is, right?
Absolutely.
Now imagine what has not gone reported.
Yeah.
The Justice Department had analysis of violent crimes in 2016, and they said that 80% of rape and sexual assault encounters go unreported.
80%?
80%.
So those numbers don't even begin to scratch the surface.
Not even close. So they couldn't even be close to accurate.
Yeah, they're not even being calculated properly then.
Right.
Which is sad.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if for the sake of the show, I think it's important to discuss that I do understand that fear, because there is a label, there is a victimization, there is a being looked at differently.
Absolutely.
Coming out and saying it, and I think that's such a shame because they didn't choose that.
Right.
They would. If you got robbed, are you afraid to tell people you got robbed?
Absolutely not. I want it back.
It happened to you, and everyone's there will come around to support and help. And I want to try to change that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, on the same subject, according to the DOJ report, 20% worry about retaliation, not from the perpetrator, but also from the society at large.
20%?
20%. 13% said that they think police would not do anything to help. And tragically, 8% said they didn't think that rape or sexual assault was important enough to report. So they're scared.
They're helpless. They feel helpless.
They're afraid. Now, even with our guests, they were both very hesitant to discuss it.
Yep.
And at the beginning of all the calls that I had, I said there is no pressure, no harm, no foul. I'm here to talk.
Yep.
And if you decide to do the show, you are more than welcome. They were hesitant.
I can't speak for them, but I could only imagine the magnitude of the conversation or how long they've kept it buried or hidden. So bringing it to the forefront would never be, I mean, I can only speak on myself the first episode.
Right.
It's tough.
Right.
But I can also tell you from experience, it's so freeing.
Yeah. Yeah. Letting it out, getting
100%.
getting your emotions and putting them on the table, allowing other people to discuss with you, like the last episode.
Yep.
I had no idea and you had no idea.
Facts.
And so having that open line of communication helped free what I was feeling, and I hope you felt the same.
Big time. Discussion is therapy.
Absolutely.
What do you do in a therapy session? There is a professional there that guides the conversation. But I think the largest part of that therapy is discussion, saying it, like thinking about it as you're saying it.
Yeah.
Having someone like the inside of your head going back and forth, hearing it externally, I feel is crucial to healing.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And that's exactly what I told one of them this morning, because she texted me and said, hey, I haven't really slept. I'm feeling nervous about talking about it. I said, hey, if you cannot do it, don't do it. But I will be on the other line.
Yep.
We will be on the other line is what I said. We will be on the other line. And I hope that gives you some sort of comfort, because I've already talked to her. Yep. You've already talked to her. And so I say we bring her on.
Let's get into it. And we're back.
We are back.
We've got our first caller on the line who's been brave enough to come on and share his story with us, and I'm going to let Mehdi take over the questions.
Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
Now, you can disclose as much or as little as you want. The floor is yours the entire time. So I'm just going to go ahead with the questions. And if at any time I'm asking a question that's too far reaching, just tell me that's a question you'd like to skip. So tell us, how old were you when the abuse began?
I was 8 years old.
Okay.
And it went on for about near 5 years.
Okay. And do you mind me asking what it was that happened?
So it was somebody who was close to my family, somebody who was around a lot, and it kind of began as inappropriate touching or, placing their hands in inappropriate areas on my body, and then it led to full-fledged rape.
And the rape went on for that long?
Yeah. Yeah.
I see. And did you tell anyone at this time?
No, I was too afraid. And the person had threatened my family if I told anybody, and I was too young to know any better. So I didn't tell anybody, and I thought also that I was protecting somebody close to me. And I came to find out later that that wasn't the case. And so I kept it to myself, and even as I grew older, I didn't tell anybody because I didn't want my parents to ever think that they didn't do right by me or that they didn't protect me the way that they should, because they have been nothing but great and supportive. So I never told them and never will tell them.
And now you said you thought you were protecting someone who was close to you. So you mean the same thing happened to someone who was close to you?
Yeah.
By the same individual?
By the same individual. Thankfully, it didn't happen as many times or for as long as it did. And that's the only thing that I'm kind of grateful for. But it happened regardless. And where I come from, you can't really talk to any authorities or anything like that. So that's why it just remained a secret.
I understand. And now it's very brave of you to be able to come forward or not forward rather, because this is your story. It's brave of you to be able to discuss it. Have you been able to discuss this in other settings to help you to make sure that you are okay?
Not really. I have been able to discuss this with other survivors, but that was more one-on-one or friends that have been through the same thing. It wasn't in any professional sense. But definitely talking about it helps a lot, especially when somebody understands what it is and knows what that feels like. It makes it a lot easier to share your story and to realize that you're not the only one that's out there.
I agree.
So have you done, since the experience incidents, what have you done to cope or to heal moving forward, seeing as it was a while back, and now as an adult, have there been steps you've taken to heal from that?
Well, like I said, so I've talked to some friends, and that has definitely helped me heal and also just come to terms with what happened. I think just talking to people about it is probably the best thing. I had seen what that had done to a lot of people, and that it drove them to drug abuse, some to suicide, and some to, just a lot of different things. And I didn't want that to be me. And so I made a conscious decision not to victimize myself and to try to do the best that I can to just go through life as best I can without having this be a determining factor or something that defines me.
So I think the most important question for you is then, how are you today after all that you've been through? How are you feeling today?
I'm okay. I mean, I'm happy. I'm in a good place in my life, but of course, this is something that lingers over my head. And anytime I meet somebody new, there's always some kind of fear there. Anytime I go to a party, there's always a fear of, what may happen and who are these people around me and is any of these people capable of that. But also, I am somebody who tries to give people the benefit of the doubt. And so I try to not let that affect me and how I perceive people in general. And it's been good for me. It's been good. I've been okay. I've been a lot better. It definitely took many years to try to be okay with myself and be okay in my own skin.
You're here.
But I'm here.
Here you are.
Yeah.
And then lastly, do you have any advice for someone who may be in the same situation now? Because we know this type of abuse happens at all ages. What can you tell someone who may be going through the same thing or may have had the same thing happen to them?
What I can say is that there is not one way to do this or to go about something like this. Anything that someone who's in the same situation feels that they should do is what they should do. I think that a lot of people fear coming forward, as I did, and I wish I had come forward, because if I did, it would have stopped, and I wouldn't have had to go through it for such a long time. And so I think that for somebody going through this, do it your way. Do it the way you are most comfortable with. Talk to somebody, whether it's a friend, an authoritative figure, anybody really. If you need to talk about it, then you should do that. And it really does help overcome this.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your story. We are very grateful. We're very grateful that you were able to do this.
Well, thank you guys for listening.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I will talk to you soon.
You're amazing. We'll be in touch.
Okay.
Bye. Wow.
It's a lot.
It is a lot, and I didn't even feel comfortable enough asking some questions. Because how do you ask someone?
If there was more they wanted to share, or she specifically, I feel like they would. Yeah. I feel like you really have to let them navigate that on their own. But what's surprising to me, and I know I've always thought it, and I've said it in discussion, but I think hearing it firsthand for the first time, they feel vilified in their trauma.
Right.
Which is almost crazy to me.
Right.
So in this situation, I feel like it's a child. I feel like we can all collectively agree it's horrible that it happens to a child.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
What I would also like to say is that even if it happens to an adult, right? Because to anyone, we want to across the board. It's not your fault. It doesn't matter how you dressed. It doesn't matter if you were at a party. It doesn't matter if you were drunk. It doesn't matter whatever the situation. This is not something to be ashamed of.
Absolutely not.
I'm not saying come out to the public and say it. Find someone you trust. If someone came up to me right now, I don't have kids. I'm no one's parent. If you trust me enough to come up to me and tell me this is happening, I will personally find a solution.
Right.
Whatever it takes. Right. And there are plenty of people in your life that would do the same.
Who would try to help. Now, the problem is you don't always know who to trust.
Of course.
Because you could go to a trusted adult, but they could as we stated earlier, there is retaliation.
Sure.
In some parts of the world.
Sure.
Whereas if you do disclose this kind of information, then you are the problem. Why were you out there? Why were you in front of this man or man in front of whomever?
Sure.
With that being said, our next guest also was assaulted by someone who was very close, someone she trusted.
Common theme.
Yeah, unfortunately. So let's bring her on.
Let's do it.
And we are back.
And we're back with caller number 2 on the line. We would just like to say thank you for coming forward and sharing your story with us. We appreciate it. And once again, we're gonna let Matthew take over the questions.
Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. Now, during this segment, you can disclose as much or as little as you want. The floor is yours the entire time. So tell us, how old were you when the abuse began?
I was about 13, going on like 14-ish.
Okay, and do you mind me asking what it was that happened?
So this is fairly hard to talk about. It was a trusted family member. It all started when this family member began by making playful jokes with me, and coming home earlier than their significant other, since I used to take care of their children. I was sexually abused by him on multiple occasions. He made me touch him in different types of ways. I don't think a 13-year-old should ever be touching an adult at all. It also happened in different occasions because it was a family member. It was kind of nothing was off limits to locations or where it was. He did always go out of his way to be alone with me. And that's when the abuse was the worst, is when we had that alone time.
Worse do you mind me asking in what way?
No, it began by touching and then it escalated. Thankfully, it never got to rape, but it got pretty close.
Mm. And how long did this go on for?
Roughly about 4 months, 4 to 5 months.
Okay. And then after this happened, or even while it was happening, did you ever tell anyone?
So when you're in those situations, you don't really realize you really don't know what's going on. You don't get to decide on like what's right, what's wrong. And I did tell someone. They were not a family member, and that someone told my family that I was being abused. And at that point, when my family had found out, obviously that's when the abuse stopped, because I didn't have to go there. My family did a good job of making me feel safe and secure, even at family occasions.
And so it only stopped because someone told for you.
Yes, yeah. And I didn't tell my family right away the full truth. It took years for me to finally tell the full truth to my family on what really happened. It started out with, it was just a small thing, and then as I got more comfortable talking about it with my family, the more I began to start opening up with about what really happened. But they don't, till this day, know the full truth to what the abuse, or the extent of what the abuse was.
Do you wish that you had either told that person or your families earlier?
Yeah. I wish I told my family myself. To be honest with you, because that's something I should have done, not someone else for me. I mean, I'm very grateful that that person did it, because I don't know if that person didn't say something to my family, if like what would have happened to me. I really don't. So there are things I wish I could change about telling that person, but there's also things at the same time, I'm happy I told them, because they saved me in a way.
And after all of this, after all this time, how are you today? How are you feeling today? How is your life?
I'm good. I am living. I have found stability in my life. It's something as you grow up, you don't really realize the effect it has on you. So it's played a part in a lot of my relationships, family, with men, with friendships. It's something that I continue to work on every day. I learn to love myself every day. I know I have to live with what happened to me every day, but I'm at the point in my life that I'm choosing for it not to define me anymore.
Okay, good. I'm very happy you are in a better place, and I'm glad you have found reprieve after all this time. Now, do you have any advice for someone who may be in the same situation now? Because we all know that this happens at all ages. Do you have any advice for someone who may be going through the same thing or may have had the same thing happen to them?
So my advice would be to speak up, say no. Don't be afraid to tell someone, whether it's a parent, a sibling, a friend, a family friend. It's okay, you are going to be okay at the end. Like, you will get through this, there's no obstacle that God doesn't put you through that you can't get through. Like, there were times I would drive to the local police station and be so courageous driving there, like, I'm finally going to do it. I'm finally going to say something, and at this point, my family didn't know. And once I would get there, I would have no courage to go down, which is one of my biggest regrets in my life, because I have to live with it, but I don't know, like, what if he's doing this to someone else? What if he's doing this to a child? And it's something that I'll never know, and it's something I have to basically just hope that this person maybe learned from doing that to me. So speak up, always speak up. As I got older, I'm in my 20s now. The one thing that has helped me the most is my friendships, and therapy. Is definitely something that has been something that keeps me together, even when I have these traumatic moments that's all I'm thinking of.
We are so happy and so glad that you have found comfort in friendships, in family, and those who surround you. I want to thank you so much for being here today.
Absolutely.
And we appreciate you taking the time out of your day to talk to us.
You're amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll be in touch.
It doesn't get easier.
It doesn't.
And we're just on the listening end.
Absolutely.
And we're both discussing in between phone calls that we're both empaths, and it's taxing on the soul to feel this pain and not be able to do something. And I think that's why when we both discussed this topic matter, being an episode, I think we both lit up and said, absolutely.
Yeah.
We've granted ourselves the space to be open and honest. And I feel like we should continue to grant other people the space to do the same.
Yeah.
Anonymous or not.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because these occurrences, they affect you both mentally and physically. And without the platform or without the space to feel open and honest and freeing, like you said, whether it be on camera, anonymous or not, it helps us bring it to the table, show people that they are not alone, and B, allow them a space where they can feel free.
Absolutely. And then I'm not a therapist. I'm someone who loves and wants to help no matter who it is. And I know you're the same. I don't know what to do with that information if someone were to come to me. I don't know what I can say is right because I don't want to say something wrong to people. What I would say is that I would find out, and that I think we owe it to the people of the show to find out. And I know we have therapists and people lined up that are going to come on the show, and I think this is something that we do discuss with a professional.
Absolutely.
And say, this has happened.
Absolutely.
We've been faced with this firsthand, and what should people do if a trusted friend of mine comes up and divulges this information? It's obviously very sensitive. I don't think it's something that can be dealt with on a whim. I know I am a protective person. Being Big Bear in that situation may not be the best way to handle it.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
There has to be a real proper way to go about it that doesn't hurt the victim, the individual, and that doesn't make things worse. And I just don't know what that process is.
Now, one of the people who were on our show today blatantly said, well, I was having our first initial phone call.
Yep.
And at the end of our conversation, she told me I would appreciate it if you stop treading so lightly around me.
Really?
She said, the way you're asking me questions sounds like you're treading lightly. She said, just ask the question.
Which I respect. But I also can't assume that everyone
Not everybody's going to do that. Not everybody's going to do that. But what we can do. Now, prevention is a term that I think in the specific topic is loose.
Sure.
But teaching our kids what these signs look like, teaching them who they can and can't trust, teaching them what is and isn't okay from an adult.
Yes. Also, and I don't think it's a coincidence that both the callers were women, right? So I think that's, and again, we have discussed that there are males that have gone through this, but it is a disproportionate amount. So I would just like to say that I do believe that women are not objects.
Absolutely.
They're not sexual objects to men. They're not something to just, it's not something you can obtain.
Right.
That's a woman.
Right.
We all understand human emotion, human needs.
Right.
But that's a person.
Absolutely.
Before anything.
Absolutely. And if consent isn't there.
100%. It's
That's
not an
enough.
option.
That's enough.
And it's a child.
Absolutely.
So there's obviously mental issues on the other side of this.
Okay.
If we stop vilifying the victims and instead start humanizing them. So I saw the response I got after I came forward. It was the most loving, emotional response from everyone I know. And it was amazing. And I feel like that may not always be the response to something like this, and it should be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have to listen to the victims, because if we don't let them tell their stories, then we are saying it does not exist in our communities.
100%.
We are saying that we don't need awareness. We don't need to listen to you. This is not real. It doesn't happen to us.
Absolutely.
But it does.
It does.
One is not from our community at all.
Correct.
And
our local community.
And the other is.
Yep.
And so what happens if it's happened to one person when I asked, and my following is small.
Yep.
Imagine the magnitude it would be if we asked them all.
It's scary.
It is.
If we, as a community, as a people, don't let others feel comfortable stepping forward, we are failing.
Yes.
I do not blame these young women for keeping it in, not just these two. Whoever it is that decides to keep it
absolutely
internalized, that's our failure as a society.
Right.
It's our job to create a space that allows women and girls to come forward and say, this is what happened, without feeling shame.
Because we haven't given them the safe haven to understand that you can tell us and be okay.
Absolutely.
We've told them this is shameful.
This is wrong.
Absolutely.
You've touched a guy now. You're wrong.
Absolutely.
They didn't do shit.
Absolutely.
This is something they have to live with, and it's probably my biggest fear is that someone close comes to me and tells me that, which I will handle and do right by them. But because of, I know I can start to understand how deep it is for them and what they'll have to deal with for the rest of their lives.
Absolutely.
That pain fears me. It's not on me, but that pain I'll feel. It scares me.
Now, in the last episode, we discussed what we want to do with our families and our children. I think one of my fears is that this would happen to my daughter.
That's what I was going with. I just
or my son.
Yeah.
And my fear is A, it happening to them, and then B, me never knowing.
Yeah.
Prevention.
And both of them had said that their family's once aware. One's family wasn't aware at all and was said that they never will be aware. The other said her family's the one that came to her rescue.
Yes.
Right? So we got both ends of that spectrum there. And I think both of them scare me equally.
100%.
Because to me, and this is not a judgment on them, me as a parent, I would feel I failed somewhere if that happened.
I put her in that. I put her or him
and
in that
again,
position.
There's no judgment to those people. They were unaware. It's a family.
Right. Because we don't know that specific situation. But in a parent's mind, which
I'm a protector.
Right.
As me.
Right.
That is who I am. To my core. So to me, it would shake everything I thought.
Right.
You know what I mean? And again, it's selfish to think about how I would feel in that situation.
Because we haven't been.
It's not us. I would want to do right by my kid, my daughter, your kids.
Absolutely.
Anyone.
Absolutely.
We should be beyond that at this stage.
Oh, yeah.
It's 2021. We just put a helicopter on Mars. But yet a 10-year-old girl doesn't feel comfortable coming up to us and saying, hey, this happened to me.
Yeah.
We've got to
scary.
Change. It's scary. We've got to change something.
It's scary where our morals, I don't want to use the term morals. Priorities lie.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
To conclude, talk about it. Make people Reach out.
Reach out. Send us an anonymous email if you want to talk about it.
Yes, the email is linked on the About page. It is linked on our About page.
Create a fake Instagram and come talk to us about it. Create an email and write us about it.
It's whattheywontsayshow at gmail.com.
whattheywontsayshow@gmail.com, just to reiterate. Let's start to move this conversation forward. I feel like we did a great service to addiction. I had a lot of meaningful conversations and people discussing their stories and their family stories, as I know you have as well in your DMs. After that episode, I think this one is even more impactful and just as difficult and impacts just as many people, but it's so hush-hush.
Oh,
80%,
100%.
as stated, probably go unrecorded.
It is wild. Wild.
Let's start to change the narrative.
Change the narrative. That's
hashtag change the narrative.
Tagline. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. My name is Mahdi.
And I'm Ramsey.
And this is What They Won't Say.